Bueno, antes de entrar a todo lo que es las entrevistas que hicimos de Cómo Entrenar a tu Dragón 2 y todo eso, vamos a platicar qué tal está la película. Primer punto, vale la pena sin lugar a dudas el 3D. DreamWorks cumple este año en Cannes, celebra los 20 años de haber surgido DreamWorks. Katzenberg ha sido en Cannes una figura muy presente, aquí ha estado con Shrek, aquí ha estado con el Panda, y ahora obviamente con el dragón, entonces ha estado muy presente. Pero bueno, la película han pasado ya 5 años, incluso el primer tráiler que vimos de Hippo volando con Chimuelo es parte de la introducción de la película, y también se generaron ya también en redes sociales, vimos los primeros minutos de la cinta. Así empieza, Hippo está narrando la historia, dice que ya han pasado 5 años, ya los dragones conviven con los humanos, con los vikingos y todo va muy bien. Sin embargo, Hippo sigue buscando tierras extrañas, sigue extendiendo, ya que puede manejar a su dragón, sigue extendiendo territorios, está bien, y de repente descubre a un hombre que está cazando dragones y le dice que está cazando dragones por otro villano que se llama Drago. En ese momento también Hippo tiene otra revelación y se le revela lo que es su madre, que en inglés es Cate Blanchett. La línea interesante es de que Hippo, primero que nada, siempre ha querido demostrar que no se quiere parecer a su padre, que no quiere ser su padre. Y es una línea de crecimiento que se desarrolla, que está bien y que se agradece. La otra línea es la relación que tiene con la madre, la otra relación es la que tiene el padre con la madre y con el hijo otra vez ese reencuentro. Después, lo que es el personaje principal y Hippo como mancuerna con su dragón y cómo defender obviamente contra el villano. La película en general es buena, entretiene, me gusta. Sin embargo, yo creo que la parte del perdón es una línea muy tenue, como que todo el mundo se perdona muy rápido y como que esa profundidad yo creo que parecería que pudo haber estado mejor desarrollada. Se tiene la intención de hacer una tercera película y que esta fuera una película mucho más oscura. Yo creo que si le hubieran quitado los últimos 10 minutos a Cómo Entrenar a tu Dragón 2, hubiera sido de verdad de esas películas más oscuras y más interesantes de muchos años. Sin embargo, la resuelve y a mí en lo personal no me gusta mucho cómo se resuelve en la parte final, pero sin embargo creo que logra el cometido de ser un capítulo intermedio que yo espero que en la tercera parte sea un poquito más de adultez y puedan lograr cerrar otra serie de ideas que quedaron abiertas. Pero en general, bueno, la verdad funciona bastante bien, vale la pena. La vamos a ver en el doblaje en español, la vamos a ver en México y por qué no, vamos a ver qué platicamos con el elenco de Cómo Entrenar a tu Dragón 2 aquí en Cannes. Hold on! First of all, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I understand that you are actually making 3 movies.
Yes.
What are your most important choices to the second one? Because there's the issue of the forgiveness, is the issue of the growing of the characters, and what you leave behind for the third one. So let's go step by step.
Sure. I think in order to not repeat ourselves, and in order to make the second film feel necessary and to have integrity to it, I pitched back the idea that there would be 3 films. This would be the second act in a larger 3-act story that covers Hiccup's growth to becoming a wise Viking chief by the end. And so yeah, that's kind of the theme of it, is seeing the characters grow up, and Hiccup in particular, we meet him at a time when he is kind of leaving behind the freedom of his youth, and he's being expected to become an adult, become the next chief in training of Berk, and just feeling the restlessness of knowing that isn't quite him, not yet anyway.
The forgiveness issue. All the characters forgive very quickly, for example. No? The Hiccup for his mother, Hiccup to Toothless, the father to the wife. Why it was so quick? And because you can make a drama or more darker film if you along that turn.
Yeah, I think there's something just about there's the timelessness of love, of pure love. I think Stoic never stopped thinking about her and never remarried, so she was the one love of his life. He only needed to see her again for everything to be forgiven. And I think Valka lives with a certain amount of regret. She realizes that, people can change and that she wasn't there for her son those 20 years. And so her asking for forgiveness is really kind of something that's very sweet, very vulnerable. And Hiccup, of course, is just amazed that, he has this kindred spirit he didn't know about. She is the other half of his soul. How could he turn his back on her?
Okay. Hold on!
No, no, it's not good.
Okay, usted me dice. Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's nice to meet you. Well, my first question is, how do you see the growing up of your characters in this second film? Because I understand there's going to be a third one.
Yeah.
So, what are the decisions or for this second one and the decisions that you have to make for the third one? But let's concentrate on this one, please. Ladies first.
Please, yeah, ladies first. Always.
Well, it was a surprise to me that the film was going to start 5 years after the first one. And, you know, we definitely had conversations about it with the director, writer, Dean Deblois, and, you know, all the way from what her voice would sound like and how that might change slightly to what she looks like to what she would want in that point in her life with her relationship with Hiccup, with her relationship to the adventure, to the dragons, and so there was a lot of conversation. Vocally, it's very subtle. I mean, I think that they sound very much like what they sounded like in the first film, and that the changes vocally were just as subtle as the features were changed.
For Hick?
You know, he's sort of dealing with, I think, something that's pretty universal for a lot of people at the end of their teenage years, beginning of their 20s, which is how do you sort of reconcile finding who you are with what you want to do and what your parents expect of you and what your society expects of you. And I think that that's sort of a balance that, you know, a lot of kids have to deal with constantly. As for the next one, well, Hiccup at the end of this movie inherits something pretty special. I can't really specify without giving too much away, but he'll probably deal with more grown-up stuff next time.
Do you have conversation, for example, for the forgiveness issue for Hiccup? For example, he forgives a lot of quick their mother.
Yeah.
And obviously toothless, for example.
Yeah.
It's a great issue, the forgiveness.
You're not wrong. Yeah, that's a very good. That's a very good point. I think that speaks to his sort of, you know, Hiccup is he's a heart. He feels. He's compassionate. He loves the world. He has, you know, he has very strong feelings about everything. But more than anything, he's a compassionate soul, and I think he knows that everyone's rough around the edges, and as my grandfather said, every dog is entitled to their first bite.
What is, for example, for Astrid in the film, she also managed, I don't know, maybe also in a subtle way, to be now the leader or the companion of the leader, I guess, because he's finding something and she stayed in the community. I don't know.
Yeah, she definitely she definitely gets to go on her own adventure. I mean, once Hiccup, you know, kind of takes off, she doesn't hesitate to rally the troops and really try and come to his rescue. I think the more interesting thing about Astrid's growth in this one is that we get to see the more vulnerable side of her. That because her relationship with Hiccup has changed, now it leans towards the romantic. They still are a little competitive with one another and a little playful and mess around. There's a vulnerability in their relationship, and that is new for Astrid in this film. And so I'm interested to see where it goes in the third one, how far, or if their relationship stays the same, or maybe it'll be completely different the third time around.
What do you expect for the third one, for example? What are your expectations for both of you?
Well, as a fan, first off, I really just can't wait to see how Dean expands the world. You know, that was one of the great treats of getting to read this script for number 2 the first time, was getting to see where these characters that I adore, where they end up. You know, to see this world that he had created, to see more of it. You know, and so you know, this is very much an act 2, and so I expect some sort of a bit more, maybe a finality to it to a certain extent. But more than anything, I'm just sort of chomping at the bit. I really just can't wait to see what comes out of Dean's heart.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.